snaps. The Washington Redskins offense was on the field for a season-low tying 50 snaps against the Chargers. Only 16 of the team's 25 offensive players were used on that side of the ball on Sunday. The 9 who did not play included 5 inactives: Robert Davis, Morris Harris, Jordan Reed, Kyle Carlis and Chase Roulier, 2 special teams-only players Byron Marshall and Demetrius Rainey, and 2 players who did not see the field in any capacity, Colt McCoy and Tyler Catalina. Yards. Washington's offense only gained a season-low 201 total yards on Sunday. The only other time the team gained fewer yards in the Jay Gruden era since 2014 was in the 4,416 beatdown by the Panthers in Week 11 of the 2015 season. This also represented the 5th lowest yardage output by the Redskins in the last 10 years. Points. The Redskins scored a 2-count for the 49th straight game, which is tied for the 3rd longest active streak in the NFL. Unfortunately, only one 2-count was scored by the offense, and the team totaled just 13 points on the day. The team has now set new season lows in points in each of the last 2 weeks: 14 and 13 points. The last time the Skins scored a combined 27 points in consecutive contests was between Week 17 of the 2016 season New York and Week 1 of this season Philadelphia. Weren't those fun games? 3rd down. If you thought things couldn't get worse on 3rd down, you thought wrong. The offense converted on just 2 of their 12 third downs, 16.7%, despite the fact they only needed to gain 4 or fewer yards on half of those plays. The 2 conversions is tied for the 2nd fewest since Gruden became head coach in 2014, and the 16.7% success rate was tied for 3rd worst in that span. Both numbers rank in the bottom 10 for the Redskins in the team's last decade of football. Washington's offense has only moved the chains on 33 of the last 105 plays on the money down since Week 7. The 31% conversion rate would rank dead last in the league this season. The Redskins picked up a season-low 9 first downs in the game. The last time they only moved the sticks 9 times was in the aforementioned 2015 loss to the Carolina Panthers. The only time they had fewer first downs in the last 10 years was against the Chiefs in Week 6 of the 2009 campaign, 7 first downs. Red zone. Nothing to see here. The Redskins did not visit the red zone once in the entire game. Last time a Washington offense failed to reach the red area was in the now seemingly infamous 2015 matchup with the Super Bowl-bound Panthers. Drives. The Redskins only scored on 1 of their 12 offensive drives in the game. The offense only made it to Los Angeles' side of the field on 2 of those drives, and 1 of them started on the 40. The Redskins' 10 offensive snaps inside Chargers territory all took place in an 8-minute span during the 2nd quarter. Penalties. On a positive note, the offense did not commit a single penalty in the game. Rushing. Samaje Perrin and company were only able to gain 65 yards and pick up 2 first downs on 21 rushing attempts against the LA defense, 3.1 YPC. Only 1 of those rushers gained 10 yards, exactly 10 yards, while a total of 8 of them went for a yard or less. The Washington rushing attack has failed to top 75 yards 6 times this season and has averaged under 4.0 yards per carry on 9 occasions. The team currently ranks 25th in rushing yardage, 1,269, 25th in rushing average, 3.8, 28th in rushing first downs, 55, 30th in first down percentage, 16.4%, and tied for last in 20-yard runs, 3. Kirk Cousins. Traditional stats. Cousins has only attempted 27 passes against the Chargers, his 2nd lowest total on the year, but that only partly explains the fact his numbers were extremely poor across the board. He completed 15 of his 27 passes for 151 yards, 7 first downs, a 2-count and an interception. The yardage and first down totals were new season lows, and the 15 completions were 1 shy of the season worst 14 passes he connected on against the Chiefs. It wasn't just about his raw totals, either. This was his worst performance of the season in virtually every wideliest efficiency metric: completion percentage 55.4%, a yards per attempt 5.59, adjusted yards per attempt 4.67, and passer rating 68.6. Every one of these figures represents one of the 10 worst showings in Cousins' career in those respective metrics. Kirk Cousins rushing. Cousins scrambled twice for a gain of 8 yards and a first down, 4.0 YPC. Cousins has now rushed for a career-high 16 first downs and is averaging 1.2 chain movers on the ground per game. Kirk Cousins' turnovers. He threw a first-quarter interception the Chargers returned for 23 yards. LA would score a field goal on the ensuing drive that would give them an early 10-point lead. This was KC's third straight game with an interception, and his fourth such game in the team's last 5 contests. The Redskins are 26.250 when Cousins throws a pick this season and 32 when he doesn't. .600. It is a theme that spans his entire career. He has thrown an interception in 35 career games. The team is 9,251.271 in those outings. Conversely, he has not thrown a pick 24 times. The Skins are 177 in those contests. .708. Kirk Cousins sacks. Cousins was sacked twice on Sunday. He has been sacked in all but one game this season at Kansas City and has now been dropped for a loss multiple times in each of the last 4 outings. His 9 multi-sack games in 2017 are a new single-season career high. Kirk Cousins' advanced stats. Only one of Cousins' 7 deep passes was completed, his 23-yard 2-count. He was only able to post a 56.3 passer rating, 0 TDs and 1 int and a 5.4 YPA when not pressured. His QBR of 29.3 and PFF grade of 50.8 were his 4th and 3rd worst marks of the year in these metrics, respectively. His highest QBR score and PFF grade in the last 3 games were 32.0 and 73.0. Josh Doctson. Doctson didn't play on every snap for the 3rd straight game, but he did lead all Washington wideouts in snaps for the 5th consecutive contest. He caught 3 of his 6 targets for 34 yards and a team-missed 2 first downs. One of those first downs came on 3rd down. Doctson basically operated as the team's go-to receiver in this game, as he was targeted 4 times on the money down. Perhaps his biggest problem was not of his own making. He was shadowed by shutdown cornerback Casey Hayward. Hayward followed Doctson on nearly 90% of his pass routes and limited him to 1 reception for 13 yards on 3 targets. His other 2 receptions came against other defenders. Say what you want about the targets and the competition, Doctson has not lived up to expectations as of yet. The 25-year-old first-rounder has never caught more than 4 passes and has only gone over 60 yards once in 15 career games. I still believe it's too early to call him a bust, but if we aren't seeing massive improvements by this time next year, then that label will likely be warranted. Jamison Crowder. This was the Jamison Crowder we saw in the first half of the season, not the one who averaged 6.4 receptions and 96 yards over his last 5 games. Like Doctson, Crowder hauled in 3 of the 6 targets thrown in his direction for exactly 34 yards. Pathetically, 34 yards was the Redskins' high-water mark for receiving in the game. He nearly mirrored Doctson in terms of 3rd down opportunities, as well. He dropped his first 3rd down target, and failed to haul in 2 other catchable 3rd down passes in the 4th quarter. Ryan Grant. An ankle injury limited Grant to a 60% playing time clip. He played on a 79% snap rate in his last 5 healthy games. This was the first time all season Grant has not received multiple targets. He hauled in his only target for a 28-yard first down. That play was the catalyst of the Redskins' only 2-count scoring drive of the day. The catch was Grant's 7th 20-yarder of the year. He only had 5 career receptions of 20 or more yards coming into the season. Brian Quick. Grant's injury opened the door for Quick to get some extended run. He tied a season high with 23 snaps and set a new 2017 mark in snap rate, with a 46% playing time clip. He hauled in 1 of the 2 passes thrown his way for a 7-yard first down. He dropped his other target. Both passes directed at Quick came in the 4th quarter. His 2nd target made this only the 2nd time all year that he has been thrown at more than once in a game at Seattle, and the first time he has failed to catch a pass all season. Morris Harris. Harris was sidelined with a concussion. The injury also forced him to miss all but 5 snaps against the Cowboys in Week 13. Harris has only caught multiple passes in 2 games this season versus Minnesota and New York. Robert Davis. Last Monday, the Redskins took my advice and signed the rookie receiver to the active roster. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see any of Davis on Sunday, because the team chose to make him inactive and only dress 4 wide receivers. Vernon Davis. The team finally decided to get Davis involved in the offense again. Cousins targeted the veteran tight end a team-high 7 times against the Chargers. Davis caught 2 of those passes for 26 yards and a 2-count. The 2-count was his second of the season and his first since Week 3 Oakland. It was the 59th score of his career. This puts him one behind Redskins all-time great, Jerry Smith, for 7th in career TDs by a tight end. That catch, which was the team's second longest play of the game, moved him past Kellen Winslow and into 10th place in career receptions, 542 by a tight end in NFL history. The problem was that the 2-count reception and a 3-yarder on a 2-non-5 play were the only balls he hauled in on his 7 targets. Davis's 28.6% catch rate was the 7th lowest such percentage of his career in a game in which he was targeted 3 or more times. That's pretty bad considering he has been the recipient of 3+ targets in 133 career games. VD either did not put forth enough effort or lacked awareness on a number of passes thrown his way. Davis hardly turned around to see the ball on a pass meant for him. The Chargers ended up picking the throw off. On a 4th-down attempt, he didn't extend to make a difficult catch that would have set the offense up inside of the LA 20-yard line. He scored the offense's only points, but the plays he didn't make had just as big of an impact on the final outcome. Niles Paul was only in on 16 offensive snaps and was targeted once in the game. You have to go back to the Week 8 contest against the Cowboys to find the last time he played fewer snaps and/or wasn't targeted multiple times. His lone catch in the game was a big one, though. Paul hauled in a 15-yard pass on 4th and 2. 3 plays later, the Redskins scored their only offensive points at TD of the day. Later on in the game, he returned his first kickoff of the season. Jeremy Sprinkle played on a season-low 2 offensive snaps for the second consecutive week. He had been in for 15 or more snaps in each of his previous 4 games. Sprinkle, who has not been targeted once in the last 3 games, is viewed as a run-blocking tight end, and when the team is getting blown out they just aren't going to use him. Jordan Reed. With his absence on Sunday, Jordan Reed tied career highs for games missed in a season, 7, and consecutive games missed 6. With the team now officially eliminated from the playoffs, it makes sense to shut the fragile tight end down. If Red doesn't play again in 2017, he will set new single-season career lows in snaps: 234, targets 35, receptions 27, receiving yards 211, and first downs 10. Basically, this looks like it's going to be his least productive year ever, and that is because he's been injured more than in any other season. That's really saying something when you're talking about Jordan Reed. Samaje Perine playing time. Perine was in at running back for the Skins on 40 of the offense's 50 snaps. The 80% snap rate was a career high for the rookie. Samaje Perine rushing. Jay Gruden called Perine's number on 17 rushes. Unfortunately, he was only able to muster 45 yards, 1 first down and 1 missed tackle on those runs. He has now failed to hit 50 yards in his last 2 games after going for at least 100 yards in weeks 11 and 12. He has now averaged under 3.2 yards per carry in back-to-back weeks, 2.65 on Sunday. Perine did gain 5+ yards on 5 runs, 29%. However, he only had 1 10-yard rush, and he lost yardage or gained 0 yards on a total of 4 plays, 24% combined. Samaje Perine receiving. In addition to leading the team in rushing yards, he also led them in receptions, 4, and yards from scrimmage, 52. It's depressing to think that a 236-pound running back had the most receptions on the club and his 52 yards from scrimmage was a team high. Perine failed to move the chains with any of his catches, and his loss of 4 on 1 reception. He lost yardage on 3 plays in the game, dropped his total to just 7 yards, 1.75 year. Byron Marshall suffered a hamstring injury on a kickoff return late in the first quarter that knocked him out of the game before he could see the field on offense. He had gained 30 or more yards from scrimmage in each of his previous 2 games. Les and Daniels' injuries to both Perine and Marshall forced the team to use their 6th different running back on offense this season, Les and Daniels. Daniels' 10 offensive snaps against the Chargers were his first as a pro. He took a pair of fourth-quarter first-down carries for gains of 4 and 8 yards, both successful runs, and finished the day with 2 rushes for 12 yards, 6.0 YPC. He averaged 4.0 yards after contact. He also made a key block on Cousins' lone 2-count pass. offensive line team. The line played admirably in pass coverage against a ferocious LA pass rush. Chargers players only combined for 2 sacks and 5 hits on Cousins, which isn't too bad considering they top 5 in sacks 37 and sack percentage 7.8%. Things didn't go as well in the running game, where the team only averaged 3.1 yards per carry and 0.9 yards before contact. Trent Williams played on all but 4 snaps and only gave up 1 hurry. You could, however, argue that he was partially responsible for allowing both of the sacks on Cousins. Melvin Ingram, who Williams was blocking, came in to finish Cousins off on the Corey Liuget sack and was credited with a half sack of his own. Desmond King ran past Williams, who was busy blocking a Chargers lineman, for the other sack. Blocking King wasn't really Williams' responsibility, but he was really the only one who could have done anything to stop him. PFF had Williams with 0 sacks and gave him an 80.7 grade for his efforts, the highest rating on the offense. Tyen Secker came in to finish the game for Trent Williams. After his performance last week, I'm surprised he didn't give up a pressure on both of his pass blocks on Sunday. Tony Bergstrom, the team's third center, played on 100% of the snaps for the 3rd straight week. He did not allow any pressures after only surrendering 1 last week a hit. Brandon Sheriff, the Redskins' Pro Bowl guard, had only allowed 2 pressures in his last 3 games combined. That changed on Sunday, when he got manhandled by the Chargers' pass rush to the tune of 5 hurries. Morgan Moses. This was the 45th straight start for Moses, who played on every snap against the Chargers, after sitting out for 44 snaps against the Cowboys. He gave up a few pressures, but there is no shame in that when you're facing off against the duo of Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram on 2 bum ankles. Eri Kouangio started at left guard and gave up a sack to Liuget in the 4th quarter. This was the 3rd sack he has allowed in the last 3 games. Demetrius Rainey, the 4th-year pro, saw his first action of the season, 2 special teams snaps. Rainey hasn't played on offense since 2015. Taylor Catalina. This was the first time Catalina has not taken a snap of any kind when active. It's hard to argue with the decision. Chase Roulier missed a 3rd straight game with a broken hand. He has yet to allow a sack and has only given up 2 hits on the year. All statistics are courtesy of Air Yards, CSN Mid-Atlantic, ESPN, Football Perspective, NFL.com, NFL Gamebooks, Player Profiler, Pro Football Focus, Pro Football Reference, redskins.com, Relative Athletic Scores, Sharp Football Stats, Team Rankings, and The Washington Post. 0% 0 votes, 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 0 votes. Total vote now.